Now the Philistines gathered their forces for war and assembled at Soka in Judah. They pitched camp at Ephes-Dammim between Soka and Ezekiel. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the valley of Elah and drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. The Philistines occupied one hill and the Israelites another, with a valley between them. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. On his legs he wore bronze greaves and a bronze javelin slung from his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. His shield bearer went ahead of him. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and you are not servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. If I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then the Philistines said, "This day I defy the army of Israel's. Give me a man and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Here's the word of God.
Good morning, church.
Good morning.
And welcome to those that are joining us online. Hello to you. Those that will watch this later, hello to you as well, and welcome to worship with us. As we're gathered today, we are celebrating Labor Day weekend. I always like this weekend because it's one of those days I can pat myself on the back and say, hey, this one's for me, right? So you can too, right? Because, of course, Labor Day is that day we celebrated many, many years ago as we started, but has come to be and always was a celebration of the ingenuity, the hard work of the American labor, and that we as a country and that we as a people, all the social achievements we've had, all the economic prosperity we've had, all the opportunities we have, all the blessings we do for the rest of the world, all come and stem from the fact that we're willing to put our hand to the millstone and to grind it out. And as we're here today, of course, we celebrate that and celebrate with you. It's our nation's strength and our friendship, our freedom that is, our leadership, and also just our democracy is a little bit better as a people, and we work hard, and we celebrate that here today. As we're also here, it's also not only fitting to say that, but it's also a happy football season. You might tell I'm a little excited about that, and I think most people in the room are excited about that too, because I think yesterday for not all of us, but I think most of us, was a good day. Yeah, I don't think there were any. At least as far as who I'm looking around, I don't remember any big upsets off the top of my head. So, for you Buckeye people, congratulations, and you're welcome for your quarterback, by the way. Of course, we're also celebrating, dear to my heart, I'm celebrating too, because the kids had the UGA jerseys on yesterday, and the Dogs won, so it's all good too. We're good. But as football is starting, before we get to our scripture, I wanted to take a minute to remember my favorite football play of all time. And maybe if you're a diehard football fan, you're going to hate me for this, and I'm sorry, but I love football, but I'm like the casual watcher, if you will, in the ways that I love to watch it. But like when it's a defensive game and it's like the score's like 3-6, not my cup of tea, right? I want like excitement. Last year's Super Bowl bored me to death. All these type of things. I like excitement. I love, and I think you diehard football fans will also not like the voice, but I love the trick play. Love it. Love me some trick plays. Love fake punts. Love fake field goals. I love the onside kicks. I love all sorts of things. But my favorite of all time is a little play called the Statue of Liberty. Right? And if you've never seen this and it's executed, it is brilliant. It's one of those plays where you see it enacted and it works. You're just like, oh, it's beautiful. It's just so trickery and it's so underhanded, if you will, that when it works, it's just beautiful. But what it is. And I'll actually give you the story a little bit of the best use of this play. Was actually in 2007. It was the Fiesta Bowl, back when the Fiesta Bowl was around, right? And Boise State and Oklahoma were playing, and there was a little guy named Adrian Peterson, you might remember his name, right? Was in this game playing for Oklahoma, and the game was one of these back and forth, and Boise State comes back at the end and ties it up. It goes into overtime. Oklahoma gets the ball. They run it like first play, get a score. They kick a field goal. Boise State comes out, ends up scoring, and they can kick a field goal to either tie it and send it to more overtime, or they can go for 2, right? And just end it one way or another. The game's over, right? And so Boise State chooses to go for 2. And they run out this play. And what this play is they have the quarterback, he's in shotgun, so he steps back from the center, and then he's got the triple receivers on the wide out on the right here, so the receivers go out. Now what's funny is if you go back to the season, they ran this play, or not the play, but they set this up like this a number of times. And so all the film on the year this year, what happened is supposed to happen is the 3 receivers are supposed to go out to make the little routes and do little route things and all that stuff. The quarterback's going to throw to one of them and hopefully get a touchdown. So that's what Oklahoma's thinking, because this is all the film footage of the year. This is a play that they're really regularly doing it. And so they set up, they hike the ball, quarterback gets it, right? Here's the Statue of Liberty play. Ball stays left hand behind the back. Arm gets where you can't see it. It throws an awkward kind of throw kind of thing, but like this. Thus the Statue of Liberty, right? Your arms outstretched, you're like this, but the ball is really behind your back. All of Oklahoma whites on it, of course, because that's what they expect. They're expecting to throw to the 3 wide receivers. The 3 wide receivers just run their little route, do whatever. Meanwhile, running back comes out behind, grab ball, out to the left. Then for a touchdown, Boise State wins it. Crowd goes nuts. It's a whole David and Goliath story. And of course, my favorite play, college football-wise at least, of all time, because it's just silly, but it worked. It's not real football, but it worked on a real football field once, and that makes me happy, and I enjoy it. It's the Statue of Liberty play. Well, as we're here today, we look at this story of David and Goliath. What we read here today, of course, is the setup, and Goliath is coming out. And I should also mention this is a new sermon series called Underdogs. I didn't actually have a chance to get our slides, so you can't move at all this week, right? But it's lovely. It's really an amazing slide, and we'll get here someday in this sermon series. But Underdogs, and we're looking at this and kind of playing with sports a little bit, playing with Scripture, and using it as a way to delve in. Well, I would contend to you that David, in this story, is going to pull a Statue of Liberty play. And we're going to kind of delve into that just a little bit here as we see how God works through David. But remember, this story so far is the Philistines, the Israelites aren't getting along. They're fighting each other all the time. And this is just another clash in the epic battle of strength for power. This is one of these deals where most of the big powerhouses of the ancient Near East are sort of subdued. And so all the little people get to fight each other. So normally you're against Egypt, like big, huge powerhouses, Egypt or, Assyria or the Babylonians or, eventually the Greeks, right? Those are huge, huge players. This is like a little dispute between Groveport and Winchester in the grand scheme of things, right? Like Columbus doesn't care, right? What happens there is what we do, right? And so this is the Philistines and the Israelites, the rest of the world couldn't care less. But yeah, this is huge for them, and they're fighting it out, they're doing their different things, different battle lines, and of course, the Philistines have a great hero named Goliath. It's a scripture, it depends on how they translate the numbers, but something like 9 to 10 feet tall, right? He's got like a weaver rod that looks like a weaver's rod for a spear. He's got this great helmet. He's got this armor with the scales on it that weigh just a ton. He's huge, he's big, he's bad, he's fought all sorts of people. He's trained since he was a little kid to fight in hand-to-hand combat. Now, hand-to-hand combat in the days of ancient Near East, this is like, you can't just learn this in a day, right? In the movies, there's always a hero and they learn fencing in a day. No, it doesn't work like that, right? This is a lifetime of learning how to fight hand-to-hand combat. And so the whole idea, of course, is this, right? You bring your big champion, I bring my big champion, we'll fight it out, whoever wins, instead of everybody else dying, we each become slaves, and you become slaves, depending on who wins, right? Kind of very familiar, actually, is attested to some other places in the ancient Near East as far as battle lines and things like that. So Goliath comes out, right? It says he's got a shield bearer, right? And so, of course, the reason for the shield bearer is because if the enemy, he comes out and taunts them, the enemy just throws a bunch of arrows. You can't just get the shield bearer actually literally has a shield, holds it up, blocks the arrows or the stones or whatever, make sure Goliath is there. But Goliath, the shield bearer, come out, taunt the Israelites. This happens day after day. Everybody's just sit back, quivering in fear, it says. They can't decide what to do. No one can take on Goliath, right? He's just huge. Fast forward story. Meanwhile, David is a shepherd. Now, when you're in head, when I hear this story, it's always taught to me that David's like a little boy, right? And when I think sling, I think slingshot. So in my head, I always picture as a kid, Dennis the Dentist, running around with his little slingshot and doing that. It's not really an accurate picture of what's going on here. The Bible does say that he's a boy, but that doesn't mean necessarily he's a young boy. And what it means is something a little bit different. In fact, the scripture a number of times, and even Goliath is going to say this in a minute. Goliath and the rest of the scripture attributes David as red. Literally, it translates a lot of times as ruddy or like, well complexioned or something like that, or rosy cheek. That's not what it means. Red means powerful, right? In fact, in the ancient Near East, the Egyptians, when they did their hieroglyphics, they would actually paint the pharaohs and those people in power were painted red. Because it was the color of power, it was the color of strength, it was the color of some not only inner but outward manifestation of power. And so when it says David's red, you don't get like little pipsqueak boy. Think like, probably like a high school linebacker, right? Now, he's not the NFL quality, right? He's not the Hall of Fame Goliath champion, like peak of their career Hall of Fame. You put a high school linebacker, no matter how good they are, against someone like that, you're going to get smeared, right? But nonetheless, he's not like, little tiny pipsqueak boy. And in fact, when it goes on in the scripture, you're going to see this kind of played out. And so you get David, who's been the shepherd. And he comes down, he's got the task to go and feed his brothers that are down on the front lines and about to fight this war and fight this battle. And so he goes down, and of course he hears the Philistine taunting, and he's saying, who dares to say this, right? And what is going to happen? He starts asking this question. Now it sounds like an innocent question to us, but it's actually the way they work in the ancient Near East, especially at this time. It's kind of a way of saying, hey, I'm going to do it. He starts asking around saying, well, what's going to happen to whoever can do this? Whoever can defeat him? What's the king going to do for him? And eventually one of his brothers tries to shush him, right? Hears this and gets mad and he's like, hey, why did you come down? You just want to stick around. You're supposed to get the food, go back and watch the sheep, right? You're all wandering around. What's going on now? Like the goats. Come back, you need to leave, and stop asking these questions. Tries to shush him down, tries to humiliate him. David won't have it. So he keeps asking, right? And the idea is that eventually the word's going to get back to Saul. Saul's going to send for him, and that's exactly what happens. So they hear about, hey, this guy coming down has been asking about it. They bring him up, and Saul takes a look at him, and is like, I don't think so. Like, you're a shepherd, not going to work. This guy is killing a machine, right? And so Saul and everybody is thinking in the head that this is going to be hand-to-hand combat. In fact, when Saul finally relents and says, okay, David, I'm going to let you do this, he tries to put his armor on, tries to give him his sword, and David's like all clumsy in it. He's like, this isn't, take it all off. We're going to do this my way, right? And what's funny about that is what David says to Saul to convince him. So if you thought a little pipsqueak boy, this is going to kind of change your image, because he's not boasting here, he's not lying here, he's telling the truth. Being a shepherd was a pretty dangerous work, especially in the time of David. It wasn't for little boys, it was for grown men, if you will, and very, very capable people, because lions and bears and stuff like that still existed, and it was your job, if the wolf or whatever came up and ran around and got your sheep, it was your job to get back. Let that sink in for a minute, right? So you got to take on bears, you got to take on lions, you got to take on all the different things. If any scavengers come or any other people try to steal the sheep, you're charged with making sure every sheep stays alive. So what does David do? He does his job so well that he tells the king this. The king says, you can't do this. He says, hey, King Saul, I'm a shepherd. I've never lost a sheep once. And when the bear and the lion came calling, you know what I did? When it had it in its mouth, I struck it. And when it let go and I got the sheep back and it turned on me, I grabbed it by its hair and I struck it dead. Right? Not little boy, he's a fighter, right? He has killed lions and bears coming after his father's sheep and his family's sheep. And Saul looks at him, obviously he believes him and goes, okay, you can kill the lion and bear, we'll give you a chance, right? What else is like? Why not? We'll give you a shot, right? And so nonetheless, of course, fast forward the story, David goes to the stream, he picks out 5 smooth stones, it says, and he goes up. And now, you got to think of this story at this point from Goliath's point of view. Goliath is expecting the champion to come out and fight him in hand-to-hand combat. And there's no way, it's like fighting, remember Andre the Giant, the wrestling matches, right? No one can beat Andre the Giant in Andre the Giant's game in a wrestling match. It ain't gonna happen, right? Too big, too strong, all that stuff, there's just too much going on. So David does what David does. Carries the staff. Now we kind of talked about this in, there are a couple tools of the shepherd. You have your staff, which is your little crook that you always think of. You have also your club, if you will, your rod. which is used to bat off snakes and just defend general things when you get really close. But you actually had a third weapon, which was the sling. Not slingshot, sling, right? And in fact, if you do the mechanics, a person that's a real good slinger, they've, I don't know who does this, but people go back and figure, historians or someone goes back, I don't know who has spare time to figure this out, but they figured out that basically a slinger that really knows what they're doing can sling a stone like a 45 caliber gun, right? Now, just for fun, I don't know too much about guns, but I was typing in 45 caliber this morning, just kind of researching what exactly that meant. And basically, here's all you need to know. If you don't know guns and bullets and things like that, here's what it means. A 45 caliber, the signs, like little funny things that people put up, says, use a 45 caliber. Why? Because firing twice is silly. That's what you need to know about a 45 caliber, right? They're big, huge bullets. They're not graceful. There's nothing sleek about them. But when they hit you, you're going to know it, right? And you're not only going to know it, but you're going to be down for the count, and you're out of commission, right, when this bullet hits you, right? And so when this stone can take out anything. In fact, exactly if you look at what David says, it's really telling what it is. Shepherds, of course, had a lot of free time, so they would do music. They would play the harp, wrote a bunch of songs. But also, they were really known, shepherds were known for being slingers. In fact, ancient wars oftentimes were won because a whole group of slingers were out there slinging their stones, and what I'll call kind of a hail of stones, and actually take out a bunch of the enemy army. And we know this from history. But what's interesting is that when David, when he says this, when he says, hey, when a bear and lion would come, they would have in its jaws a sheep. It says I would strike it, but he says it twice. The first element, he strikes it with a stone. So he knows how to kill a bear and a lion and hurt it, wounded enough that it's going to drop the sheep with the stone from hitting the sling. And then he knows enough with the combat weapon, the actual rod, if you will, that he's going to go up and it says it turns on him, he grabs it by the hair and strikes it again. Thus the rod, right? His two tools. Now you got to think from Goliath's point of view. Here comes David. And he says that even, why do you come at me with not stick and a sling, but sticks? So David, even though it says it has a sling in his hand, he's doing something to deceive Goliath, right? He's pulling a Statue of Liberty, because Goliath thinks he's got the staff, and he thinks he's got the rod, right? And so what happens is they get close, battle line is drawn, they do a couple more taunts, like Goliath does what Goliath does, and he says, I'm going to give your body a feast for the crows, and all the animals of this. And David, of course, David's David, he's a fighting man now too, so he's going to talk back. He does basically the same thing, but he adds these lines, which are really kind of important to the story, and I don't want to lose sight of them. But when he comes up to David and they see each other, it says this, that not only did Goliath despise him, but David responds to the Philistines' threats. He said, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin. In other words, actual tools of fighting, right? Not sling and staff and rod. But you come to me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defeated. This day the Lord will hand you over to me, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. Today I will give your carcass to the Philistine army and to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field, and the whole world will know that there is one God in Israel. And all those gathered here will know that it's not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. The jive goes on, right? I don't think, probably Goliath wasn't used to get it fed back to him, right? And so you can kind of imagine that the scripture just fast forwards real quick here and kind of want more details, but it appears from the scripture that Goliath is both enraged and ready to fight, and so he leaves his shield bearer behind. It says he starts running to approach to get to the fight, right? And David, it says, runs to the line and then gets out of his sack the stone. But they're like point blank range now, right? So you can imagine, not far off in the distance, right in front of them, almost hand to hand. I mean, they're right there, right? This is the image, right? You just see this, and it's too late for Goliath. Goliath probably sees the swinging coming on, and he maybe thinks he can get the distance, but he doesn't know how good David is at this. David slings it, Statue of Liberty, if you will, right into his forehead. And I love it. Like, I don't know if he threw off his helmet in disgust. He just thought, oh, this little puny guy, I'm going to take him out. because he has a helmet. It says earlier that he has a bronze helmet that weighs a bunch of stuff. So I don't know if he took his helmet off, or if David is so good he just strikes him, even with the helmet on in such a way, it just smears him right. 45 caliber bullet right to the face, out for the count. David's one. Now it's interesting though, even though David was sly, even though David did a lot of the trickery, he attributes all of this to the Lord. What I think is kind of cool to talk about here today on Labor Day is the scripture and the idea of David. Because David's story, we know it from Goliath, but his story, really, if you think about it, starts way, way, way back. When Father said, "Here are the sheep. Work hard. Take care of them. Do what you have to. Make sure none of them go missing." David, day in, day out, put his toil in. David, day in and day out, got up with the sheep, with the goats, chased them down, right? Herded them around. When the enemies came, was prepared. Threw their stones, got the club out, killed the lion and the bear. And one day, God chose him to take on Goliath. He was so good at it. King Saul looked at him and said, "Okay, we'll give you a shot." Right? But God had been preparing him day after day, year after year, month after month, rainy day after rainy day. When David didn't feel like getting up and going to work, David got up and went to work. When David didn't feel like showing up and going to do something more fun, David got up and showed up. When something scary came at him, he didn't run away. He learned to fight it. What made him not only a great warrior, but such a great king in so many ways. As we're here today, it occurs to me that we live in a society that was built upon hard work. It was built upon people doing their job and wanting to do it well. Whatever it was, whether it was a menial task like washing the sheep, or building railroads, or doing whatever, people put their heart and strength into it. And what made us such a great nation. And as we're here today, one of the things I see that kind of worries me is sort of like a malaise in younger people and the attitude of work. Right? Not that that's just the most horrible thing in the world, but there is sort of, as you look, it seems like people sort of expect stuff to be given to them. And I think what you see through David's story is the exact opposite. Because David's story was chosen, "Hey, David, I'm choosing you because you have worked so hard. You have put your time in. You've been trained for this. I've equipped you for this. And now the plans come to fruition. I'm going to use you to fight off enemies." And so our challenge for you, and I know if you're retired, you get to pat yourself on the back here today, but if you're not, if you're working, here's the challenge for you today. Think of yourself like David. Think about the work that you do. You do it expecting God to use what you're using. All the tools, all the skills that you're using. Is God going to use that to do some amazing things with you later? If you waste this, you kind of just say, well, there's the sheep. I'm just kind of let them do their thing. We lost one. There's a lion out there. It was kind of big and advantageous, and I just kind of like to stay back from it. If you kind of go that route and you think, someone else will take care of it, someone else will do it, or you just say, hey, I don't feel like working today. I'm just going to call, right? If you have that attitude of work, it actually prevents you from sowing the seeds that God's going to use to kill Goliath. And so especially for our young people, I know the world tells you, hey, just kind of relax, do something easy, do something hard. If you're young people and you're listening today, put your heart and soul into the menial tasks, the things that people go, no one cares about this, why should I work this dead-end job? It's not a dead-end job if you do it right. If you do it right, you're learning the skills, you're being equipped to be good at what God's called you to do in the future. And thus, we learn one of the lessons from Underdogs. That's great. Lord, as we're here today, we thank you so much for your love. We thank you so much for this story. God, all the glory goes to you. David just shares that. He knows that you prepared him. He knows in this story that you have just brought him to this place. But Lord, he put his heart and soul into doing the work that no one else necessarily wanted to do. Even his brothers want to send him back from the battle lines and dismiss him. Maybe we ourselves feel that in our work. Maybe we feel like no one cares about the cashier clerk, no one cares about the person who cleans up, no one cares about the teacher's assistant, no one cares about, Lord, the business person that continually gets passed up for job promotions. Lord, there is time for change and different things like that. But at the same time, in the midst of that, we're called, Lord, to do what we do on this earth with all of our heart, all of our strength. Lord, do it well. So Lord, help us to remember the lessons that our fathers and our mothers taught us throughout these years, and how our country, Lord, in so many ways did become great because people were willing to put in sweat, to put in work and effort. And we see that played out with so many different blessings. As we hear today, God, we bless you. And we thank you not only for our country, but we ask, Lord, for our country and ourselves to be blessings to others. And may, Lord, this world be changed by the shepherd boys and girls who do their work, do it diligently. And you, Lord, prepare them to take on the light. God, as we're here today, we come to your table not of our own accord, but because of your grace and your mercy. And God, we remember that we ourselves come not as great people, not as holier than thou people, but we come as sinners in need of your forgiveness. And so, Lord, before we come to your table, we take time to name our sins quietly before you as we take this moment of silence to meet with you. God, you promised us that when we come to you and ask for forgiveness, Lord, that you bring. And so, Lord, we claim this, that in the name of Jesus Christ, we are forgiven. Amen. And Lord, as we come to your table, we also come remembering that night in which you gave yourself up for us, and you took bread. You gave it to your disciples, you said, take, eat. This is my body which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me. And when the supper was over, he took the cup, gave thanks to the Lord, gave it to your disciples, and said, drink this cup, all of you. This is the blood of my new covenant, poured out for you and for many, for the forgiveness of sins. As often as you drink it, do this in remembrance of me. And so, Lord, these mighty acts, and all these others that we remember here today, may you bless us as we come to your table. May you make us be both the body and blood of Christ for us, that we may be the body of Christ, redeemed by you, given to this world, and blessed. As we hear, Lord, make us one with Christ, make us one with each other, and one in ministry to all the world, till we feast at your heavenly table. We pray all this by the power of Jesus Christ, through your Holy Spirit, and your holy church. All honor and glory is yours, Almighty Father.